Welcome to your daily devotional with me, PMV. Last time we left off at the end of Revelation 2:9, so let's just read the whole verse for a refresher. I know your works, tribulation and poverty, but you are rich, and I know the blasphemy of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. The book of Revelation clarifies that while God still has a plan for the Jewish people, some are Jews not by birth, but by faith in Jesus Christ. Going back to Genesis, Abraham, the father of the Jewish people, was found righteous before God because he believed God. His faith is what was accounted to him as righteousness. So it is today. God has a special people that he has called to himself by faith in this world. And if you have believed in Jesus Christ unto salvation, you are one of God's children. You are called to make him known. In Revelation 1 verse 9, Jesus called out those who claimed to be the people of God, but persecuted the church. He called them a synagogue of Satan. These are strong words. But to reject Jesus and to persecute his church is to join the forces of hell. These are Jesus' words, not mine. Next, verse 10 reads, do not fear any of those things which you are about to suffer. Indeed, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison, that you may be tested, and you will have tribulation 10 days. Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. There are two commands in this verse. First, do not fear. Second, be faithful unto death. There are also two promises in this verse. First, they are promised persecution, even unto death. Second, they are promised a reward on the other side of persecution, a crown of life. Only the one who was dead and is now alive could promise such a thing. Only a Christian can look death in the face and say, you are not the end of me. The church at Smyrna was already persecuted and they were in poverty and there was more to come. Verse 10 promised prison. In fact, the devil would throw them in prison. They would be tested. They would have tribulation for 10 days. People speculate what the 10 days meant, but this passage does not make it clear, as 10 often stood for perfection or completeness. I think it may simply mean that they would be tested for as long as God deemed it to be so. But in God's eternal purposes, some of them would also die. And what were Jesus' commands to them? First, do not fear. Second, be faithful. That hardly seems fair. It's almost harsh. Why would Jesus give them such a message? Well, that we would struggle for Jesus to demand this much of his church reveals not so much a harshness on Jesus' part, but it shows just how attached to the world the church has become. It does not expose some injustice in Jesus, but it shows that we've lost sight of eternity. Jesus called them to focus on him and their reward that awaited the other side of their suffering. Jesus wanted them to focus on the victory party that he had prepared. He wanted them to finish strong. He spoke to them like a good coach. He was coaching them up, not being harsh. He didn't want them to give up in the fourth quarter. He wanted them to finish strong. In another nod to the city of Smyrna, Jesus promised them the crown of life. We looked at that last time. The word we translated here as crown was not a crown of royalty, but a crown of victory that was given at the athletic contests that were held in that very city. They knew what that meant. They could also look up the golden street that appeared like a crown on the mountain, and they knew that God had so much more in store for them. There was a reward waiting. Lastly, verse 11 reads, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. He who overcomes shall not be hurt by the second death. As with the message to Ephesus, both Jesus and the Spirit spoke to the churches, and the message was to overcome. to toil and struggle and prevail in the strength Jesus provided. And what promise was given to the overcomers? They would not be hurt by the second death. The second death is a reference to the great white throne judgment in Revelation chapter 20, verses 11 through 15. Let me read that passage to you. Then I saw a great white throne and him who sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away. And there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, standing before God, and the books were open. And another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged according to their works, by the things which were written in the books. The sea gave up the dead who were in it, and death and Hades delivered up the dead who were in them. And they were judged, each one according to his works. Then death and Hades were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And anyone not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Now, to those who have put their faith in Jesus Christ unto salvation, you have passed from death unto life. But to reject Jesus is to stand before a holy God and still be guilty for your own sins. One day, God will hand out justice. To those who have rejected Jesus, justice means to be forever cast into the lake of fire and away from the presence of God. This is the second death. The church at Smyrna was doing good things. Jesus didn't have any problems with them. So if you're doing good, shouldn't life just go well? Shouldn't everything just go your way? Well, apparently not. What were they promised in light of all their hard work? They were promised suffering, pain, testing, tribulation, and death. But they were also promised life beyond death. They were doing all the right things, but they were not in control. God is in control, and He promised them persecution. So what's up with that? Well, that doesn't sound like the God that you want to give up control to, does it? As with everything else, we must look at this in light of Jesus. That's what we'll do, and then we'll bring it to a close. Persecution and life beyond death are just what Jesus promised and what He modeled. They hated Him. They'll hate us also. As He rose from the dead, so will we. If we're squeamish about that, it does not reveal an injustice in God. It shows how weak our Christianity has become. If you read the Bible, you will find that they did not rejoice in